Welcome back to Beyond Motherhood for another week. And if you're new here, a big welcome as well. And today, something that's fresh on my mind and something I'm just kind of in it at the moment is really around just the chaos that can come with being an adult, but on top of that, being a parent and having all these responsibilities. And the last couple of months have been quite chaotic in many ways. There's just been a lot on. We're about to move in a couple of weeks as I'm recording this. So, on top of that, work and business has been full, navigating things with children, and just life keeps on going. And it can start to feel really heavy sometimes, and of course, chaotic. And we can just get so caught up in our head. And in these moments, we can often tell ourselves, or good intention people can say to us, you'll get through this, just stay positive, and all those things that really do, in many ways, override what our body's actually signaling to us. And instead, we just call it we're being resilient because we're just pushing through and, there's the light at the end of the tunnel and all of those sorts of things. And as beautiful as having this positive mindset is, it's not enough. And it does, as I said, override what our body might be signaling to us when we're feeling heavy, when we're feeling internally chaotic, when our external world's feeling chaotic. And I know now, and I feel such a difference now when I start to get into these ways of being, how to actually learn to listen to my body and what it's trying to tell me and letting that lead instead of being in my mind. And so that's really what I want to chat about today is how, as mothers, when we are feeling heavy, when we are feeling there's this chaos, when we are stressed and feeling overwhelmed, how we can start to let our body lead and let that support us through the chaos and not just, and it's also a piece of the puzzle, not just positive vibe and mindset our way through it, because we need both, absolutely. And it's so funny because before I learned about nervous system work and healing, and when I was really disconnected from my body, I really did have this positive vibes only and positive mindset only way of being. And there is a problem with this positive vibes only culture. And I guess the biggest one is it can actually be really toxic in many ways because it can shut down your real emotional experience and what you're actually feeling, and it will and bypass that. And it's quite harmful because your body's truth is your body's truth, regardless of whether someone might agree with that or not, or whether someone might feel uncomfortable with you feeling that or not, or even how comfortable you are in experiencing and being with your emotions, because that takes a level of internal safety. And that is a practice in connecting with that part of ourselves. But so many people can bypass their body's truth in favor of these mindset hacks because as a culture we want quick fixes. We don't have time to experience grief, and we don't have time to experience overwhelm and be with our feelings and move through them. But by suppressing them, as you may have experienced yourself, as I know I have experienced as a mother, when I suppress these feelings that I'm having and my emotions, they are going to show up in some form at some point. And often that can be directed towards our family. And often that can be directed towards our kids when we snap, when we lose our shit. And, this did used to be my go-to, just positive mindset. Like, I can do it. I'm strong, independent woman. And it's great to feel that, but it's like, are you actually embodying that as well? And if this is your go-to, it's not wrong and there's nothing quote unquote bad about it. But just notice like is it working for you? And like I said, it will show up in motherhood when we just sort of positive vibes only our way through life and through parenting and through mothering. And it will lead to burnout ultimately, and it will lead to snapping. And that leads to disconnection with our kids, within ourselves. So it's just really important. If you've heard, there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score, and the body does keep the score. As I said, it's going to show up in some way, shape, or form at some point. And it's really important to remember. And again, it's a practice that your body, it's the real compass. When we start to really listen and start to notice the sensations that are coming up in our body, notice the feelings, whether we can name it or not. But sometimes it can just be without even feeling like we need to label it, just noticing what is actually internally going on. So, for example, for me, when I know that I'm feeling internally chaotic and overwhelmed, it shows up in like tightness in my chest, rapid heart rate. Typically, I tighten, tense my stomach, and then that causes digestive issues, and clenched jaw. There's usually the big three. It's like jaw, chest, gut. And your nervous system, it's not a problem that you need to fix, but it is your guide. It's a guide to understanding and bringing awareness to what's going on in your body. And emotions like grief and fear and overwhelm, they are all valid and all wise emotions. They're just trying to signal to us that there's something going on here, and they can show up in different ways in your body. For example, I think it was this morning or maybe yesterday, like I just had this because I was just starting to think about moving and just started to noticing like overwhelm, and there is a grief to moving because it wasn't a choice. We don't want to move, but the owners of the property are selling, so it's out of our control. And I noticed the grief coming up, the tears coming up, and I noticed my initial response was like, I don't have time to feel this. I don't have time to go there. And because I was packing at the time and cleaning. And so I was just like, went back to cleaning and went back to packing, like, yeah, get that away. Don't need to do that. I just need to focus on getting this stuff done. And it wasn't until later on that night that I was like, no, I actually really need to be with this. And I did allow myself to go there for a while, noticing some resistance. I am noticing some resistance. So I have no doubt that there's going to be a time that I'm going to carve out some time leading up to the move to just allow myself to be in that. I'm not feeling like I'm ready at the moment, but the awareness is there. And I know that it's okay to feel that, because my body is showing me and guiding me into this needs to be felt, this needs to be experienced, because it will ultimately show up in other ways in my life if I don't allow myself and give myself that permission to feel and experience that grief and feeling just, upset. I don't want to move. Like I really don't. And the resistance there. So just knowing that when we don't listen to what our body is signaling to us, stress will continue to build, and disconnection will deepen, disconnection from your body. And that's when we just continue to be stuck in our head, the overthinking, trying to logically what was I trying to say? Think and logic our way out of things, instead of letting our body show us what is there, and being able to experience that. Because as I said, our body, it's our compass, it's our guide, and it takes time to even notice those signals. And like awareness is beautiful, and it's just the first step. So how do we actually then shift? Like, how do we go from our head to our body? And it's not something that, if it feels totally foreign to you, that's going to be something that you're going to snap your fingers and be easily able to do it necessarily. But it can just be by starting to ask yourself powerful questions and giving yourself space, even if it's a minute, to just notice what is bubbling up for you. And a powerful question that I ask myself multiple times during the day is, what would my body have me do right now? And it can be just me sitting there for a quiet moment and asking myself. Sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, I actually need to go and have a drink of water. I feel really dehydrated. I notice like dryness in my mouth. Or it could be hunger, like, oh, I haven't eaten for 2 or 3 hours. I'm actually sitting and noticing my stomach starting to rumble. Or it could be an emotion or something else that comes up. And it's like, well, how can I support myself in that moment? Whether it's like just stepping outside, getting some sunshine, moving your body in some way. Maybe it is going and having a cry for 5 minutes if you're able to. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's going and talking to someone. And just asking this question and just without having any expectations or, again, trying to reason and logic your way into an answer happening, just let it naturally bubble up. It could be an image that comes up. It could be like really directive of what you need. It could just be, you notice a sensation. Like I said, oh, I'm actually thirsty. Like that's what I need right now. It's just having small moments and taking these small acts of attunement and noticing what is coming up in your body in those small moments. And that is just the real first step into tuning in and listening into your body. And this is how we start to create emotional safety by honoring what our body needs and regulation. Because when we're listening to our body, letting the answer naturally come through, and then honoring that by going and doing the thing that we need to do. If you don't have a lot of time, even just something really small in that moment, maybe it's like, I just need to take a deep breath here and just put my hand on my heart and just take a deep breath or 3 deep breaths. Like, this is how we come back to our body. This is how we start to regulate and create safety. And so, I mean, resilience, it's funny because I always have said I'm pretty resilient, and I do believe that. But I notice a difference in like what that actually means to me now. It's not about just pushing through and just soldiering on. And of course, I will always get to the other side of it, but often now it's more about that surrendering and softening into what is. And for example, for me at the moment, I've noticed there's sometimes with this move and with all the stuff that's going on, like lots of things happening at once. I've noticed the stress levels rise naturally, but I've noticed this, like, I need to control this. I need to control every single thing, and like starting to control my kids. And it's like, that's, again, normal, because when things feel uncertain, we want to feel in control in some way. But I've also then been like, okay, how can I trust, and not just saying trust the process, like just trust that I am fully supported, that I can fully support myself, and just soften into the surrender of the unknown, while still obviously organizing myself and having things that need to be done, but not in the sense of like just pushing through and going hardcore and just being like, that go masculine energy. It's more from this like softening and feminine flow into it, rather than like the hustle and get it done. And also it's just circling back to, that creating of space to feel. And when we do that, coming from a place of curiosity rather than judgment, it's like, well, and that's resilient in itself, being able to feel strength within yourself, in the feeling, in the unraveling of whatever it is that is there that wants to be wants to be shown and wants to be expressed, and not labeling it, not saying it's right or wrong, not judging it, just allowing it to come through and just becoming curious with that. And just knowing that there is so much joy that can be had in the being, in the presence of the chaos, in the presence of whatever is there that you are experiencing in the moment. There's no perfection in like this resilience. Like resilience doesn't mean like you've got all your shit together. For me, it's just I am present with this. I have faith and trust that things will work out. It doesn't mean it's going to be a straight line from A to B. It's probably going to be this up and down, up and down. And how can I still support myself and feel supported and know that if I totally break down, that is also okay, because there will be an up, there will be the other side of that. And that is okay. That is okay. And your body's cues, honestly, that in terms of like your nervous system and how you're navigating all these things in motherhood and life and adulthood and responsibilities, your body's cues and what your body is trying to signal to you is more important than your to-do list. And that can be a really hard pill to swallow, because we all want to get things done. We all feel this need to get everything done. And of course, there are some things that we do need to do, but it's like, how can we, when we are in a heavy period, when we are in a little bit of a chaotic period, how can we be okay with and give ourselves permission with letting go of some things on our to-do lists that aren't a priority, in order to honor our nervous system and what our body needs in that moment. Because giving yourself permission to tend to your needs, even in the chaos, is going to support you to move through that challenging period. And for me, the next few weeks, like I've noticed like that anxiety creeping up. I'm like, oh my God, I've got so much to do. Oh my gosh, again, the to-do list and all of that. I was like, you know what? All the main things are in place that need to happen. Yes, I need to pack. Yes, the kids are going to be here and we need to do X, Y, Z. And I've got work pieces and all these things, but everything is there ready to go. And I just need to chip away. And so it's like, how can I find moments of slowness and tuning in to what I need, even in that chaos? So tending to my needs, it's going to look like trying to go to bed early most nights that I can and get some good quality sleep. It's going to be moving my body when I can, whether that's going to the gym still or going for walks around the block, or doing some of my embodiment practices at home, or going to dance classes when I can. I know that sounds like a lot, but obviously it's not. Some of my embodiment practices will be like 5 minutes during the day. But like tuning in and making sure there's all these things that I know that are there that I can easily access, that are going to nourish me and nurture me and support me through this full period over the next couple of weeks. And not overcommitting to different things that, like social things, something might pop up and be like, oh yeah, love to do that. But then, stepping back, okay, is that actually going to make me feel more overwhelmed because I'm now committing to something that is going to then make me feel constricted and more stressed and like all of those sorts of things. So yeah, it's just something for you to ponder as well, is like in these periods, like what are some really key things that you can do and that will support your nervous system, will help you to feel nourished and nurtured, and maybe it's meal planning, all these different things that will support you to having more capacity. And that is going to decrease you. It's not saying you're not going to feel stressed, but it's going to decrease like those periods where when, maybe the kids are having a moment and you're already feeling stressed. But if you tapped into some of these things, you're going to have a bit more capacity to move through those moments without fully breaking down yourself. So just remember asking yourself, what do I actually need right now? What do I need right now? And just having that pause, the power of the pause in those moments to ask your body that question. And again, it takes practice, but trusting that your body knows the answer and she knows the way back to joy, to regulation, to safety, to presence, and just allowing yourself and giving yourself that permission to ask yourself that question and to trust that whatever comes up is the truth of what your body needs to communicate to you. So I'm going to leave it at that for today. And I hope that there's been some little key takeaways that you can take with you when mindset as a beautiful thing, but it's only part of the puzzle. And just knowing that there is so much wisdom that your body wants to share with you, and that your body is always working for you and trying to signal things and trying to tell you things and communicate to you. It just takes practice in listening to that and having that awareness, so then we can then follow through with it through action. So I hope you have a beautiful week ahead. Please leave a comment, share on the socials if this episode was supportive and helpful. I always love to hear feedback, and have a great week ahead. I look forward to speaking to you on next week's episode. Ciao.